Hi, this is Rachelle with Scrapcraftastic, and I'm going to be working in my micro daily again today. I'm going to be working with these bug or critter stamps. I think I got these from, oh, I don't remember where I got them from. I think maybe AliExpress, somewhere like that. But these are some really nice stamps. They stamp really well. You can see I did a second stamp on a little piece of cardstock, and I'll probably be using that in a junk journal sometime in the future. So I didn't want to waste that little bit of extra ink that was still on the stamp. So that's what I'm doing with that extra paper. And this is vellum that I'm stamping on. Yes, I'm playing around with vellum again, but I have a specific idea for this. So that is why. And again, I'm stamping off on the little extra piece of cardstock. And I have to say, I was really impressed at how well these bugs and moths actually stamped. It was really nice. I don't know if it was stamped, the ink, what, I don't know, but it came out really nice. So here I have 2 ants on that stamp, but I only wanted one of the ants, so I was careful to put ink on only one of them. And I'm going to go ahead and tape together my 2 3x4 pages. I believe I'm using mixed media paper that I trimmed down. These are my Arteza real brush pen markers, or real brush markers, something like that. But it's a set from Arteza. And I'm just going through, picking up a few colors that I think I might like. I didn't realize that when I used these that they would reactivate the ink, so I'm having to be careful as I go around the critters or the creepy crawlies, not to smear the ink or let the brush pen mix with the ink that's already on the vellum. And then I'm starting to think that I don't really like the colors, but I'm going ahead and using these clear jars. I've had these stickers for a couple of years, and I've been intending every year to use them, and I don't. So this year I'm using them, and I think I came up with a pretty good idea for how to use them. I don't really like the glossiness of them. As you can see, there's a lot of glare, and I considered using some clear gesso on them to mute some of that glare or shininess, but since they are glass bottles, I thought that maybe a little shininess wouldn't be too bad. So, but here I'm just putting them over the creepy crawlies, and I decided that I really didn't like that green, so I'm going to stamp that one again. And go ahead and stamp it off on the cardstock. And it takes a little while for the ink to dry on the vellum. The beetle creepy crawly didn't want to dry, so I'm just going to go ahead and put the sticker on him while he's still wet. But it's cool. So here I'm just going to fussy cut all of the jars out. And while I'm doing this, I'm actually listening to an audio book with Hercule Poirot, one of Agatha Christie's characters. I think it was The Mysterious Affair at Styles. I'm not good with names, but it was one of the first books. So I'm listening to the audiobook on Hoopla. Here I'm just trying to arrange the positioning of the jars to make sure everything's going to fit the way I want. And as you can see, I did not use the blue in my arrangement. I inked a little bit in the background first to dull some of the whiteness of the paper. Then I'm going in with this brick stencil by Tim Holtz, and I'm using a red ink to make bricks. So we essentially have a brick wall in the background. Then I'm going to go over with a little vintage photo. I don't like the way the vintage photo looks when I use the makeup sponge. It makes it more yellowy looking. But here I'm also going in with the black soot to give it some variation in color because bricks are not all the same color. So I kind of try to make it look real, kind of. This is my wood washi again. It's coming in real handy lately. I'm using it quite a bit. And I'm making a shelf with the wood washi. And I'm just filling in a few bricks here where there was some missing. Again, checking the placement of the jars. And so here I'm just going to go around and ink the jars to give them a little more definition. I think I verged on putting too much ink on them, but I wanted to put some ink at the bottom to give them like a shadow underneath the creepy crawly. And the ink at the bottom especially gives the bottle some weight and something to sit on. I'm not sure how to explain that, but hopefully you understand what I mean. Here I'm just going around inking the edges of the paper. And I'm going to use this Prismacolor, I think it is a Prismacolor black marker to add some shadowing and color variation to the wood so it's not just a flat brown color. Going in with my black soot distress ink to add a little more color and depth. Checking placement yet again. And I decided that I'm going to let that one jar hang off the side of the page just to do something different from what I've been doing. Here I'm going to cut a couple of strips off of that same piece of coffee or tea stain paper that I've been using in the last few videos. But yeah, it's amazing that since I've been doing the more art journal style micro dailies, I have not bought anything specific to use with these. I've been using things that are in my stash and scraps. I've used a lot of scraps for this. And inks that I had never even used before. I had the inks in my stash, I just never used them. So here I'm poking a hole into the little tags that I just made. That's what I use the coffee or tea stain paper to do. Make tags for the jars. I'm inking the edges and punching holes. Again, making tags. Just trimming this one down. And I'm only doing tags on 3 of the jars. Again, punching the hole. And then here I have a piece of waxed linen thread that I usually use to bind handmade journals or junk journals. And this was just like an extra cut off piece. And I'm using it to string these tags on it. And I'll be using that thread to tie the tags to the jars. So I'm just cutting the thread into thirds, making sure that each third has a tag on it before I cut it. So it's a little fiddly wrapping this thread around these small jars because it is waxed. So it makes the thread a little stiff and difficult. It's a little stiff for working in such a small space with a small piece of thread. But I eventually get it knotted around the jar. Then I move on to the next one and fiddle with it. I had a time with that wax linen thread, getting it on those jars, really. What I probably should have done was actually leave the needle on the thread and actually sew through. So here I'm using the double-sided tape to kind of anchor that linen thread in place. Then I'm using my tape runner to just run a little bit of tape on the back of the jar. Just enough to hold it in place. I didn't want to go crazy with the tape. More of the double-sided tape to hold the string. It's a little more heavy duty than the tape runner, so I didn't want the string moving around, and I'd noticed that it does move around and it might come off. So just placing the jars. So now all the jars are in place. Just checking how everything is looking. I'm deciding to actually put a little tape on the back of the tags so that they don't move around too much. They are still movable. It's just a little adhesive to kind of hold them in place. And here I'm just going to go ahead and trim up the string. Again, adjusting the positioning of the tag. Now I'm going to draw a few books. I decided I wanted something else on this spread. It seems a little dull to me, and really I don't think the books helped much. But since I started doing these, I've wanted to do something with books, and I think I may do another spread with more books. I did one with a little potion book, but I kind of want to do something with bookshelves. I just didn't want to have to draw them all. But these came out pretty good. I do see things that I would do differently, but again, for my first try, I think they came out pretty nice. So I went in with the brush pens just to add a little base color. Then I'm going over it with the ink, and I'm going to use the marker to outline the books to give them a little more definition. Again, it can get a little muddy when I'm trying to do vintage look or vintage colors, and I felt like the books were getting a little too muddy. And looking back at it now, I think maybe I should have put the titles on in a white gel ink or something like that so that it would stand out more. I'm not sure, but I learned something. So here I'm just putting spells, poisons, and potions. And then I decided to I was going to just put that behind the bottles, but I didn't want the books to be hidden so much, so I'm going to add another shelf. Basically, I'm building this wall. I'm adding another shelf behind the bottles. And you see my head in the picture. And it's just going to go across both pages, cutting off the extra tape and making sure that the tape is split in the center. Going to go ahead and grunge up the wood some more. Again, I'm using a gel pen to do that because the gel doesn't dry quickly on the washi tape, so it gives me time to smear it out and blend it in. I'm going to put down the books, put them on the shelf, and I want those to hang off of the top edge of the paper just a little bit. And I'm going to go in and add some shadows beneath the jars using the gel pen. Here I'm opening up my case of pens that I keep these separate. All of these write well on dark paper. So I'm just testing a few of them out to find the right color for what I want to do. And I went with the gold pen. I think this was a marker, really. I think I got that one from Five Below, and then I'm just going in with my gel pen around the gold to add some more depth. And I do think the gold helped pull out the cover. That's why I say I probably should have done the titles in maybe a gold or something a little different, but I know for next time. And here I'm taking the white gel and trying to add some highlight areas to the books to keep them from being so dark and dreary. I'm going to add another shelf, building the room as I go. And this is going to have a hidden compartment. And I'm grunging this one up. I'm adding a little glue to the knots of the linen thread because it's waxed and it's such a small piece, it is not holding the knot. So I want to make sure they don't come loose. Here I am cutting a slit at the top of the shelf that I just added. We're going to have a little secret compartment there. This is a piece of scrap. I'm going to use my Happy Planner punch to cut out a full box. And it will tuck into our little secret compartment behind the shelf. And here I'm stamping on the full box. Things that go bump in the night. Thought that was fitting since we got the creepy crawlies, even though they don't go bump in the night. You get the point. Then I'm going to add a spider to that because I stamped it off center. So I wanted something to balance that. I started to restamp it, but I was like, no, I'll just use it as is and let the spider balance. Here I'm stamping Tuesday because this is Tuesday. And I'm cutting another full box. Here I'm testing and making sure that it'll fit, and I'm going to use my tag or angle punch to punch a little angle on the corners to make it look like a tag. I have my 27 that I'm going to stamp on the second tag. So that gives room to write on the back of the 27 and the back of things that go bump in the night. I'm using this hole punch to punch a tiny little hole in the top. Here I am making a little pocket for those tags to slide into on the back. Adding the pocket adds some stability to the tags once they're in that slot, so that they're just not flailing all over the place and flopping. That little pocket holds the tags in place. So I'm inking up some more, removing the tape that I had on to hold the two pages together. Inking up the tags. Again, plenty of room to write if I choose to, which I probably won't. I think I did enough work on this spread that I don't really need to write anything about it. So I'm just opening up the pocket, sliding the tags in. I punched the holes and now I'm popping this on the disc, checking my tags, and I decided I'll go ahead and put another piece of linen thread, this time black, in the holes of the tags to make them easier to pull in and out of the little hidden space. Trimming the strings down and placing them back in the pocket. So that's it for this micro daily. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that little gray bell so that you'll receive notification each time I upload a new video. Be sure to check the community tab and my stories for updates throughout the week. Also, check us out over at patreon.com/Scrapcraftastic for exclusive content and digital downloads. Visit my other channel, Journal Life's Journey, for craft videos and junk journals. You can find me across social media at Scrapcraftastic. Visit my website and shop at Scrapcraftastic.com. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!